Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth. Welcome, Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast. I'm your host, Tom Lacavera-Stewart, on the Republic Broadcasting Network, and we have a special guest, a live update on the case of U.S. v. Astarita, the FBI agent who was charged for lying about firing upon rancher and patriot Jeanette Finicum, and what I believe was the catalyst of what became a state-sponsored assassination via political beliefs. Lavoie I knew personally. I knew him as a non-confrontational, peaceful man who wanted to take a righteous stand for liberty, for freedom, for the rights of every individual American. We have heard how Lavoie, and just to my absolute disgust, how he's referred to as anti-government. Direct quote from Jeanette Finicum, ladies and gentlemen, is, I believe in the federal government. The federal government has a role to play within the confines of the Constitution. So there is no doubt that all of their subterfuge, all of their disinformation is being used to smear the character of what I consider to be one of the best men that I ever had the privilege of knowing. And, I think that the massive support has required all of us to take this stand. So we have Jeanette Finicum live right now with an update on the happenings of what have been going on for the past 2 days. Welcome to the show, Jeanette.
Thank you so much for having me back on.
Oh, anytime. We're always blessed to have you here. I know that today has been a rather hard day. We did get a chance to watch the video that you just posted, and for those of you out there that follow my feed, you can go to Rural Oregon Patriots or the Verdict Watch or One Cowboy Stand, and you can get these updates as well in real time. But can you give us, our audience, an update on what happened today?
On what happened today, yes, we've had, let me just grab my notes again.
I know, right?
Yeah, there's so many people that they say there's going to be over 100 people to testify throughout this case. That's a lot of different FBI agents and officers to keep straight, let me tell you. But we had the pilot first off this morning. His name was Jeff, and he worked for the FBI, and he was one of 3 pilots in the plane that he was in. He actually was operating the camera. There were 2 planes that they had dispersed on this mission, and I don't believe either plane knew that they were there. He mentioned that he didn't know the other plane was above them. So
well, that's wonderful.
He testified. Yeah, they didn't know. They didn't even know about the mission until that morning when they got their order to go to a certain spot and to start filming in that area, and to watch the Refuge to see who was coming and going, and they were the ones that were able to let them know that the trucks had left, and then they headed to the site where the roadblock was set up.
Right. But I believe that they knew that they were leaving anyway, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Right. He testified to have been surveilling the Malheur the entire time, that was their mission, was to surveil and to watch what they were doing, what they were doing. They would zero in on different individuals and things that were going on there at Malheur. But
yeah,
that,
I very politely
January 20.
I very politely waved to them a few times.
I'm sure. I'm sure everybody knew that they were being watched. But the one thing I found very interesting was, one thing he said was about 3 o'clock in the morning after they had finished this operation, and of course Lavoie was dead by then, they had filmed, he said, a total of 6 hours of video before they were running out of gas and had to return. He said that they were ordered at 3 a.m. to process that video and to get the incident recorded and make copies of it and return it to the authorities that were asking for it. And I'm imagining that is the video that we saw released to the media. Hello?
One of the things that I want to, sorry about that, we had a hiccup. One of the things I wanted to mention early in this is that there was one specific incident that I don't see focused on enough. And as the son of a retired judge, may God rest his soul, things that I learned over the course of time when looking at a state of mind. And I know that this is really hard to talk about, but for the purpose of the fight for freedom, we kind of delved down this even with you. When Lavoie was fatally wounded, one of the officers stepped out, and I will never forget this. It's burned into my eyeballs. He stepped out and gave him the middle finger as he lay there in the snow. That state of mind shows malice, direct malice. So we have the FBI agent who fired and lied about it. And from what I understand, all of this, the judge had some pretty shocking things to say about the character of your husband, and then turned around. If I'm being given this information correctly, maybe you can set us straight. Then turned around and said that basically that wasn't a part of the case. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. Let me set this up for you. It was testified to that Officer 1 made the comment that we're going to have to, shoot Finicum. And then Judge, I've got the notes right here, he starts off the jury instructions by kind of making a statement. He's reading his statement, but he's talking about how the militia leader, Lavoie Finicum, again, they're label lynching him as a militia leader. Yes. He wasn't in the militia.
No.
Most of the people at Malheur weren't in a militia. They were just concerned citizens, farmers, ranchers, people who were defending property rights and their First Amendment rights. And then he goes on in his narrative, this judge, talking about how Lavoie nearly hit this FBI agent. Well, we're watching the film today, and yes, this FBI agent leaps in front of Lavoie as he's turning. Lavoie is avoiding the roadblock, so he's already braking and trying to turn, and he has to even jerk his truck even more away from as the officer leaps in front of him. And so, but they're trying to set the narrative for this jury that these officers were just defending their own lives and because their lives were on the line, and that my husband was a real threat, and none of that was true. In my mind, that is not true. My husband would not try to hurt any of them. He wouldn't have rammed the roadblock. He tried to avoid that officer who leaped in front of him. And he got out of the truck with no weapon in his hands, with his hands in the air. That, to me, doesn't signify someone who is a threat. If they had been serious...
It not only doesn't signify this, but I had a conversation with Lavoie just a day or two prior to this event. And we were driving on the open roads outside of Malheur, and he had stated, and let me see if I can get close to the quote. He said, if for some reason they try and stop us, I will pull over and let anyone out who wants to get out. We don't want a violent confrontation. And basically what his state of mind, what he was saying was, is that he wanted to pull heat away from people who he considered innocent, and women, children, that kind of thing. His state of mind was nonviolence. It was stern, taking a stand, but it was nonviolence, and it was the protection of everyone around him. He was always concerned with the lives of the people that were directly around him. So when he exited the truck, I see that as him trying to draw fire away from, especially SHAWNA and the other young lady that was there. I know this to. Yeah, that's just his character. Nobody's ever called me to testify, which I think is kind of odd, but that's okay. We know his state of mind, but is this case really about his state of mind?
This case isn't even about Lavoie. That's what I just wanted to say.
Right.
The judge finishes his statement before he gives the actual jury instructions. He says, even though he's going over, Lavoie did this, Lavoie did that, he's a militia leader, la, 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 he says, now, jurors, this is not the subject of this case. So if it's not the subject of this case, why are you talking about my husband and setting it up to make him out to be the boogeyman?
And prejudicing
the jury. And they have continued to do that throughout.
That is basically prejudicing the jury.
Yes.
Yeah, it's steering the jury. So I think that automatically, right off the bat, the prosecution has already ground. So here's the question here. The judge does something like that, and say a mistrial is declared because the judge fell out of line. I wonder how intentional that is. And I'm not making any direct accusations. I know these prosecutors have a job to do, but that seems to me, this judge and that statement, being the son of a judge, I have to look back strategically. It's almost like that was planted there to throw a mistrial in case that there was a guilty verdict. I don't know. Maybe that's me being a little overly paranoid, but this judge should know better. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think all of them should know better, because after the judge's jury instructions and opening statement, then it's the opening statement for the government and then the defense team. And again, in the government's opening statement, he talks about how Lavoie picks up speed towards the roadblock and how the officers were in fear for their lives, and how they thought the one officer had died, but actuality he had been buried in the snow from the snow that Lavoie piled on him, I guess, right. In turning like that.
He jumped right out in front of his truck. That was so obvious.
Yeah, and then the defense does the same thing. Are you kidding me? I mean, why are we talking about Lavoie here? This trial is about Special Agent Astarita, about him not telling the truth.
I would have objected to the judge's statement, and I would have objected because of facts not in evidence and not relevant to the case. I don't know if the lawyer did that, but that's what I would have done.
No, he did not, because you've got the government FBI lawyers defending Astarita, and then you have the government on the government side. So
right, I know.
think the government is playing games, they're playing in cahoots. So
that's kind of what I was thinking.
See, they have a narrative that they want out there, They want this certain narrative out there.
Yeah. Well, they can only fool those who will be so easily fooled by cognitive dissonance not to be able to withdraw the facts from this case. I've spoken to people who have watched that videotape, and because of their ideological beliefs in opposition to conservatives, they refuse to admit that Lavoie tried to swerve out of the way of that officer when he clearly and deliberately tried to jump in front of him. And that, to me, I'm a fireman. I've been, I'm a judge's son. I've been around cops my whole life, and I'm very familiar with these procedures that they do. I'm also familiar with, as growing up, the conversations that some police use, and they plan on things to kind of create a narrative to accomplish an objective because they believe that they're doing the right thing, and oftentimes find themselves going down roads that are misguided to try and prove a case when a predetermined subject has been. They come with their narrative, and they kind of fit their narrative based on their policy. This, to me, seems like that thing. It's so clear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so clear to anybody who sees it.
Yeah. Today they continued the same narrative by continuing to reiterate that there was a threat of over 100 militia that were supposedly heading their direction. And I'm going, no, they weren't. I don't know where they got that idea, because as people exited the Malheur Refuge because they were scared for their lives after they heard Lavoie had been murdered, they were all leaving to get home. They weren't leaving to organize a shootout with the police. Nobody was doing that. They were in fear for their lives. And as they were exiting Malheur, they were being arrested. So how could they, in good conscience, even say that? But they do.
Well, you also had a certain militia group, and this is where it comes into things that go off into rabbit holes like Operation PatCon and some of the COINTELPRO and stuff like that. I'm not making any allegations, but I found it very strange that a huge militia contingency showed up and got into the face of law enforcement, all for the cameras. And this same group kind of stayed back. They stayed away from the refuge, but they were in the media's eye, and they gave that perception of a militant militia force that was in support of this. But they were never on the refuge. They never had any part on the refuge. And although there were people that may have been members of militias from their home states, that really is not relevant, because the people that I saw at Malheur came out. They were sitting through constitutional classes. They were, sitting around the fire, cooking and singing "Kumbaya" and "Amazing Grace." And these were not.
Correct.
if the federal government has to determine these people as terrorists, then they have set their bar far too low.
Well, the federal government will allow other groups to protest and march down the streets, light fires, bomb cars, set off bombs on bridges, and not do one little thing to stop it. And they're just exercising their First Amendment right to free speech. Give them some space, give them some room to express themselves, or some of the comments that their leaders have expressed while watching them destroy personal property and harming individuals. Yet when peaceful white men, for the most part, and women go to stand for property rights, we're called racist, terrorists, militia, crazy people.
And even if the group, and that's even if the group was white. But I did a photograph from inside Malheur because Vanity Fair had done a piece while this was going on, basically saying, if these people looked like Obama, they would have been assaulted by now. Well, one of the guys that I was walking around with,
wouldn't have.
most of the time was an African American patriot, right? So we did this photo op shoot where he covered his hands and he lowered his head with a cowboy hat, and I took a picture of him like that. And then he looked up, and you could clearly see that he was African American. I said, "Hey, Vanity Fair, does he looking up like Obama? He's with us." It has nothing to do with race. It's insane with the way they go to that. Well, we know who's behind that.
Yes, and it's effective because it continues to divide people. It continues to divide us on what and creates that wide division and discord and hate towards one another, because then all of a sudden people believe the rhetoric coming out of the boob tube, and they really think that this is going on, and so therefore then the hate, and it's so effective. It's so effective. It is tearing our country apart.
Yes.
It is tearing our country apart, and I pray that someday that more and more Americans will wake up and see that the powers behind all of this and what they're really getting us to do by separating us.
Yeah, the effects of cultural Marxism in America.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been talking. I spoke to Chris Ann Hall just yesterday about this, and the absolute indoctrination of our kids and the necessity for her Liberty First university education for everyone, adults, and especially I advocate for children because I think that that's our future. But people just don't know who they are. They don't know what was created for their benefit or how to use it properly. All of these things that I think is very critical to the education that we see that she's putting out too.
I'm excited for Chris. She's a great educator. She is a great woman who has devoted her life, her and her husband both, to fighting for liberty and to teach us all what we need to know to help save this, our republic.
Oh, but wait! What horrible white racists who go and are missionaries to Haiti?
I know.
Good
I
Lord
know.
Jesus Christ, have mercy. We'll be right back after a few words from our sponsors with Jeanette Finicum, Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on RBN.
Welcome to the place of the lamb's hypocrisy. Little pink houses for you and me. Welcome to the face.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Resurrect the Republic Truth Radio broadcast on RBN. We are live with Jeanette Finicum, and I believe on the other line, if we can make that happen, SHAWNA COX is standing by, and we're going to have her here shortly, I hope. But Jeanette, is there any other aspects of today's trial that you want to get out to the public?
Well, just that it was very interesting to listen to the video expert that they brought on. He was tasked with the job to sync the two videos together, SHAWNA COX's video and the video from the plane. And he did a very good job. It was very interesting to listen to how he was able to do so, how he was able to track each individual agent, color code them so that he could follow that agent throughout the video individually. He did one by one, tracking their movements so he would not get them mixed up. And it was very interesting. So he knew where everybody was and where they were positioned at each part of the operation. So he was able to narrow it down to 3 Pacific agents in one Pacific area. So it was a really interesting testimony. And then it followed up with the FBI command officer for that operation, who was also working with officer number 1 with the Department of Oregon State Police Department. So that testimony was very long and laborious. The two sides went back and forth considerably over pictures and what he could see or what he couldn't see. Could he recognize himself? The defense, of course, wanted to call them just blobs on the video screen, and, of course, the government wanted him to recognize his own position and where he was. And it was very interesting to see the video, how it was. It depended on which video pictures you were looking at, because some were cleaned up to where you could tell and see more detail in the images, and others were very, very blurry. But as the video expert talked, he was able to clean up the video, to hold the video still, to add more contrast to it, and brighten it up. He was able to make it to where you could see a heck of a lot more. And I think the government just wants us to see the fuzzy blobs. They don't want us to see all the refined image that you're able to do with today's technology.
That's pathetic.
Overall, it was a very interesting day.
Yeah, they don't want you to see that stuff. And SHAWNA, welcome to the show too. I hear that you're there finally. It's nice to have you here with us. Yeah. SHAWNA COX is with us also, ladies and gentlemen. We understand that Jeanette is a little bit limited for time. If there's not anything else pressing that you want to update us with, I want to let you go, because I want to be able to bring you back as many times in the future as I can.
Okay.
So,
well, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you everyone out there listening. Thank you for your support. We love you very much.
Oh, we love you too, Jeanette. We're praying for you. God bless you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have ladies and gentlemen, we have on the line right now SHAWNA COX. SHAWNA, how are you, dear?
Oh, good. Hi, Tom. Thanks. Thanks. Yes, yeah. I didn't get to go into the court because they're playing their crazy games again. They told me yesterday. I guess they were subpoenaing me to come in to testify, and then they didn't subpoena me, so I came anyway because I want to hear what they have to say. I want to face them. And so, of course, then the prosecution, I knew that they stipulated that it was my video, so then they could talk about it without me being there. Then they said, and then, of course, the defense team wanted to keep me on the list so that I couldn't attend the court, which was not okay, because how can you have a public trial if you don't let the public in, right? And even though we get into all these deep details that they go in trial after trial, please tell me why anybody has a right to kill another man when they're not armed. They wasn't pointing a gun. We lose the fact. We lose the fact of the truth and get lost in the details. You know, who gives them the power to just murder people? That's my question. And premeditated. So what makes it okay? That really still bothers me. I've long asked myself for whatever excuse they wanted to have. You know.
Yeah, I've often asked myself, a very uncomfortable question, because I have friends who are cops. I grew up as a judge's son, so I have people in my family, in my extended family, that were law enforcement. But, one of the questions that I have to ask about this is, when is it justified to be able to defend yourself against a police officer who is trying to kill you? And what I mean by that, for anybody that's seen this video, they all know that your truck was fired upon, and there was no return fire, there was no initiating fire. So all of the gunfire that was drawn to this truck was drawn unprovoked. At what point does someone else attacking you with a firearm constitute the right to defend yourself? Anyway, we'll be right back after a few words with our sponsors. We had Jeanette Finicum. We have SHAWNA COX right now, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after a few words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Extendivite, a 7-herb combination of garlic, cayenne, hawthorn, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Extendivite is designed to strengthen the heart and arteries and help the body heal itself. Doctors are not able to explain the improvements they are seeing in their patients' health who are taking Extendivite. People who once needed more pills are now taking less and getting better. Due to the unexplainable improvements in their patients' health, more doctors are calling to order Extendivite for themselves. Help Extendivite make your doctor a believer. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Texas.
Welcome back. Well, let's hope all the telephone lines aren't down tonight in Texas. But, you know, we're on the line right now with SHAWNA COX. We just concluded, for those of you who are listening by live podcast, just tuning in, at the conclusion of this episode, you can go back and replay it. We just had Jeanette Finicum give us an update on today's USV Astarita, the FBI agent who fired upon LaVoy's truck and then lied about it. I think that is a valid charge. However, my opinion is that is what kicked off what became the assassination of LaVoy Finicum. When you fire upon people, and you fire upon them unprovoked, which means there really was, the provocation was, in my opinion, for them to continue to do what they did, was that agent or officer who clearly jumped out in front of LaVoy's truck when he tried to swerve to avoid harming anyone in the roadblock, and he ran into a snow bluff. I mean, it was just so obvious to anybody who has eyes to see. It blows my mind. So anyway, we have SHAWNA COX on the line right now, who was in the truck, and I think that she can also attest to the fact that all of the comments from LaVoy Finicum that led up to this were although a stern support against corruption and against the overreaching federal government, Lavoie said, and I quote, and I do believe we have this clip, if you could get that ready for me, of Lavoie stating very clearly, I am not anti-government. We need the federal government. We need the federal government to perform, basically, ad-libbing within the confines of the Constitution. So for this judge,
19 essential.
Yeah. Go ahead. Your comments, please.
I was saying there are 19 essential powers that we gave them. That's what we need them to perform, and nothing more. And that's what what I see here is, and I'll probably put this in my book, it's called Shoot First and Ask Questions Later. They had no intention. There were no commands that said for him to get down and put his hand. They keep saying they said that, but you can listen to everything in my tape, and there's nothing there. There are no commands that say that. They already had it planned to shoot, and
right.
So I'm just
even if they did tell him to get down, for those listeners out there who maybe have not seen the footage yet, although I can't imagine that, he was standing in pretty deep snow. A natural survival instinct is not going to allow you to go face down into feet of snow. So giving someone a command is one thing, but giving them an unreasonable... Right, I get that. No, I understand what you're saying. But let me argue. I argue the point, too, with people that say, well, he definitely had a gun. So what if he did, I say? And so what if he did, I say, because you guys were fired upon first. So let's assume the liberal media wants to go with their narrative. He had a gun, and they ordered him to do so. I can argue very clearly on the side against any common sense individual who has a natural inherent self-protection mode. When you're given an order that you're basically going to smother yourself, that just doesn't seem reasonable anyway. So even if what they're saying is true, which you and I both know isn't, but even if they were true, it wouldn't have been reasonable for him to go face down in the snow, get down on the ground in feet of snow. It just doesn't make any sense. So their argument doesn't hold water, because even their end of the argument, if it were true, to me, maybe this is just me, but it doesn't make sense. But I have a very short clip to play of Lavoie Finicum's own words, because this judge accused him of being anti-government. So, Mike, go ahead and play that clip real quick.
We are not anti-government. We're not anti-federal government. I believe in the federal government. We believe in the federal government. We need the federal government. The federal government has some very specific responsibilities, such as keeping our borders secure, defending our nation, keeping commerce regular, and just a few other narrowly defined things. So I'm going to say that again. We are not anti-government. With that out of the way.
Now, see, that's his own words, so it can't be misconstrued, right?
Perfect. Nope. Can't be misconstrued, because nobody was anti-government.
No.
It's get the government correct, and that's not what happens in society. What happens in the society and how we fall is because we allow people that usurp power and authority and money, and that's what they feast on. And then they get other people, their friends and their neighbors, to buy into it. So let's get a retirement. And we're sucking all the money from the people. And now we have all of our friends in office, and now we have all of our family in office, and now we have the power. And then what happens is we get people that are rich, and now we got the poor, and now we got to feed the poor, so we have everybody to share the wealth. So the communities have to reach out and help the people that are poor. And once they run out of funds, because they can't keep doing that, now they all become poor.
Yep.
The poor now attack the rich because they want more, because they don't have it. Now they got to go and they start stealing it. And after they start stealing it, the ones that are wealthy have to protect themselves. Now we're starting into a civil war where everybody's fighting for survival. That's where our whole nation is turning into. The whole world's becoming this way, and it's all because of those people who can't say, okay, well, yeah, well, I'm just the one that's pulling them over on the road. Oh, wait a minute, but you're extracting money from them that is not a legitimate job, right? You're extracting money. You're a tax collector now. Or I'm just the one that's making the bullets. I didn't shoot them. I'm making the bombs. I didn't do. You know, everybody has their part. If you are party to it, then you need to turn around, people. Turn around, because you are part of the problem, not part of the answer. And that's what is the problem, is nobody thinks they did it. I didn't do anything. Yes, you did. You're part of the problem.
Yeah, but you didn't do anything to fight it. That's what I say to the keyboard warriors out there. Even the folks that think that they're... Look, I love social media for sharing the work and media and stuff that we do, but I see social media as being a real problem in that a lot of people take to Facebook when they're upset about something, and they rant and they vent their frustrations. I call it the pressure relief valve of social engineering. Because they voice this opinion and they think that they've thus done something. Well, granted, there are individuals that do that do something, and those people are like Bundy or Ryan. When they do their videos, they reach thousands of people, and they're covering subjects of, that educate people and give them information that they need. But what they do with that information is really essential. Just sitting by on Facebook or Twitter or whatever else, it's just not getting it. Hell, I couldn't get it.
Right. So, let me tell you, it does help get the word out. If people can become aware, but then other people, or I have to say, I have to give them credit for that, because even though they can't get out and do a lot physically or financially,
well, that's true.
Even sharing the information is important, because then the people who are active get the information, and then they can help to be more active in those roles. So I think everybody has a role.
Sword,
I want to bring up one more. Sorry.
Yeah, two-edged sword.
I wanted to bring up one more thing in this trial.
Go ahead.
I have to give kudos to the Deschutes County detective, because had he not smelled the rat, there would be no investigation, there would be no accountability, and even though I'm going to predict this outcome, I'm going to predict that they're going to find themselves not guilty, because they're going to paint it however they can. They're putting this on only for facade, so that they can say, oh, the HRT, the FBI are high, high integrity and mighty and honorable, and that they're going to say that they're trying to get rid of the black eye they've gotten, and they're going to say they've been cleared by a jury, which was manipulated in the first place because nobody was allowed to see them or talk to them, and everything is still behind closed doors and under seal. So my prediction is they will find him not guilty just to try to clear up the name or the reputation of the FBI. And that's what will happen with this.
I would give it 70-30 only because I've seen miracles happen from Malheur to the Nevada trials. I say 70-30 because it's just we've seen such amazing things happen, but we do know who's in control of this, and we do know that the judge, right from the rip, torpedoed. I mean, just the character assassination of Lavoie and all of the terminology, anti-government, militia, all of these words that they use to attempt to smear people. All the while, these things are clearly supported by the Constitution. And, of course, again, we see the Navarro style. I guess the Constitution doesn't matter, because all of this information now, I know from seeing enough trials, is that calling Lavoie anti-government, first of all, they had a not guilty trial in Oregon. So calling Lavoie anti-government and militia and all these things are entering facts not supported by evidence. That would have been my objection to the judge's statements I really think that the judge should have been immediately objected to and really should be thrown off this case for torpedoing the case from the beginning. That was not the place of this judge to do that. That was bad behavior, as Chris Ann Hall identifies. They're only to be judges while in good behavior.
That's been in every single trial. The judges are the judge, the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury, and the executioner. They do all of it. It comes from the judge manipulates it. And they try to sway it with their whole being. That's exactly their mission, is to pull it their way. And I
think that we need citizens.
Justice? Where's justice at all?
We need citizens review commissions or committees of safety to, with a foreman with the same power as a grand jury foreman that can be presented facts and evidence that can decide to move forward against charges against corrupt government officials. Because having the government police itself and prosecute itself, there leaves too many areas where a crafty attorney working for the government can throw a monkey wrench into the spokes of a case while acting as prosecutor against one of these guys. And that's not saying that they would, but for all the things that we saw in the Nevada trials, with the absolute deception, the lies, the willful withholding of exculpatory evidence, the destruction of evidence, we now know their credibility is shot. They have no more credibility, and the reason they have no more credibility is that if they would have acted upon this and done something to correct it, it would have been one thing. But you have the same prosecutor that was trying to go again, and the same prosecutor. I mean, Myrie, really, he shouldn't even have a job. So as far as I'm concerned, they've lost any sense of credibility that they had, and I think the Pew Research, they just released not that long ago a report on trust in people in the government. This has become the government, and belief in government and official narratives has become akin to a religion. These people are like cultists that believe this stuff at this point. What do you think?
I think that's pretty sad, but you're absolutely right. It is. The world has changed from God to animals to trees to that they're worshiping the Baal, the gold. Yeah. That's what it is. They've become back to Baalism, and they don't even. I don't know if they even realize it, but people are on the bottom of the totem pole anymore instead of at the top, and that's totally upside down. And so people are expendable, not animals or trees or the earth or anything like that. So. Yeah. It's really sad because we can go back into the time of Moses, and that's exactly what happened to the people and that were led to the wilderness, the Israelites.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. History is repeating itself.
Absolutely, I have this activity going on right here, so I have to leave. But I just wanted to get in with you for a minute, and I appreciate
thank you very much.
And all you do.
Oh,
I mean,
we do have a caller.
Keep beating that drum.
For the caller. You want to hang on just in case she has a question for you real quick?
Sure, you bet.
Okay, Brandy in Washington, you're on. Brady in Washington, you're on.
Hey, so I don't want to take any thing away from what SHAWNA said, but I wanted to make a couple points because I think it's really important. Lavoie was a law-abiding citizen. I mean, there's no question about it. So for the media, it's really easy to debunk this BS that the Oregonian, that Oregon Public Broadcasting, that the new, all these different outlets said he was armed with a pistol in his jacket pocket. You know what? Does that make sense? He's not a Oregon. He's not a resident of Oregon. I'm sure he was well aware of what the Oregon concealed carry laws are. And he's on his way to visit a sheriff, and concealed carrying in Oregon, that doesn't make any sense, right?
No, it doesn't. It never made sense to me, and I particularly am one, and I think SHAWNA can attest to this. I believe that it was planted, only because if you're going to lie about when you pull a trigger, there is nothing after that to me that's credible. I don't know, SHAWNA, your opinion on that?
Well, here's what we've established. We did establish he's a liar. Now, after and there was more than one, so you have to say there was 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, they lied, not once, 2, 3 times. After you've established that they're a liar, how can you believe anything else that comes out of their mouth after that?
Right. No, and that was exactly my point. Caller, stay on the line for a second, Sean, and we're going to let you go because I know that you have to go. Thank you so much for joining us, SHAWNA Cox, an RTR Truth Media contributor. God bless you, and thank you for doing what you guys do, and we're still going to keep up the good fight. So God bless you.
Keep up the good fight and keep praying for the truth to come out. We appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am.
All you do, Tom. Thank you. All right.
God
good
bless.
Night.
Good night. Folks, caller, stay on the line. Folks, we'll be right back. Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on RBN after a few words from our sponsors.
This is the most transparent administration in history.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, health care has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the Matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on RBN. We still have on the line. Before we get to our callers, I just want to say to my friend Joe Kaiser sitting out there, he sent me a message. Man, this makes me want to cry and eat ice cream. But this brother right here, Joe Kaiser, he has supported this network, and he's going to be instrumental in bringing us to live video feeds while we do the broadcast on RBN. So while he's sitting back and feeling a little bit punched in the gut from all of this news, I'd just like to say to him, Joe, the work that you're doing to help us bring the message to the people and stay on that is so crucial, and I thank you and RTR Truth Media TV that will be coming soon. We have Rudy and Aaron Davis, who are hosting every Monday on the state of political prisoners. We have Gary Geleno, Grindall 61, who's going to be coming up. We've had Chris Ann Hall and Jeanette Finicum and SHAWNA COX and all of these wonderful people, Laz Encenaro, Kelly Stewart, John Lamb, just great reporting from the field that's crucial to this. And, you know, if we stay on this, I think that good things will happen if we just endeavor to persevere and stay the course. So we do have Brady. Are you still with us?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Or you would like to make any other comments or observations?
Well, yeah. So, you know, I'm friends with Laz, so he gave me the link to this show. But
yeah. Thank you, Laz.
He, you know, my family and I, we got involved with, you know, we saw what was going on with the Bundys and what, you know, their confrontations with the BLM. And it's basically, I think when you look at what happened to Hammonds, what happened to the Bundys, it's the same. There's the criminals behind the curtain are who we expect. And they're the same people that are actually attacking the president, right? And so when you pull that curtain back, the common denominator that you see is Barrick Gold and Uranium One, and they're basically a mining precious metals investment company based out of BC, Canada, right? So it's Frank Juster and Ian Telfer. They're major donors to the Clinton Foundation. They're tied with Soros Quantum Fund. They were involved in the theft of gold, you know, basically the gold mining down in Haiti. They're involved with gold mining and uranium mining in South Africa.
That's the real Russian collusion story, or the hundreds of millions of dollars that have gone to the Clinton Foundation, as well as I believe it was a $500,000 payment for Bill Clinton because of his wonderful oratory skills and honesty. A bunch of Russian oligarchs put that up who had ties to the Kremlin. So people keep talking about Russian collusion. This is the misdirection, right? I have some issues with Trump's foreign policy, and like Chris Ann Hall, I say principle over party. I'll criticize Trump where Trump deserves criticism, but this is an area where I completely agree that this is a concocted narrative to destroy the credibility of conservatism, not just Trump. I don't think this is about just Trump. To try and attempt to destroy the message of conservatism in America, that is why they're going after Trump so hard as they are, I believe. That's just. If you'd like to stay for a little bit longer, please feel free to do so. We have to go to commercial. Folks, we'll be right back. Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on RBN in the second hour.
Many people write about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. My wife and I both use Extendivite and are very pleased with the results. It has helped to stabilize our blood pressure and to make both of us feel healthier. Good product and good buy. So far, so good. I've been taking Extendivite 3 times a day. Only a short while now, but already I've noticed the circulation in my hands and feet improving. They tingle. I like the idea of taking something herbal rather than pills. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think this supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Expand your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth. Well, I sure hope you can handle the truth. We try and bring it to you as best as we can. Tom Lacavera-Stewart, your host, Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on RBN, and we are covering tonight. We had Jeanette Finicum, SHAWNA COX, and we have a really decent caller in, Brady in Washington, who obviously is so well informed. He travels in the same circles as Laz Encenaro, who of course delivers us all of the connections. He follows the money, traces the roots down to the very end. God bless him for that, because he continues to keep pumping out information. So Brady, I had to interrupt you before on that break. You were saying?
Well, yeah, no, I wanted to make a point, that President Trump went and pardoned the Hammonds, and that was a great thing, and it got a lot of media attention.
Yes.
InfoWars, David Knight's been, he's been a valiant.
He's been solid. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he was there, he was in Nevada. He was at Hammond Ranch. He was up in the name. Well, he was there in Central Oregon when this all went down.
Yeah.
or John Day, but that's what people got to look at. If you look at the Barrick Gold and the Uranium one, mainly Barrick Gold ties to Harry Reid. His sons have been major lobbyists for Barrick Gold. Barrick Gold it's Ian Telfer and Frank Jussa. They're major contributors to the Clinton Foundation. They're connected with Soros Quantum Fund. They're major contributors to they contribute to Ron Wyden. They contribute. There's also a big lobby firm called Kuhn-Tupes Denim. Podesta Group's gotten a lot of media attention because of how crooked Tony and John Podesta are. But one lobby group that hasn't gotten a lot of attention that's full of Clinton former Clinton staff is Kuhn-Tupes Denim. And Barrick Gold, Uranium One gave tons of money to that lobby outfit, Kuhn-Tupes Denim. So that's something to keep an eye on. And they're still cranking away in the District of Criminals, right? The swamp. So, but anyway, those are the names.
Oh, you mean, wait a minute. You mean the swamp? You mean the swamp that a lot of mainstream media says is a conspiracy theory?
Yeah. And that's the other part too. That's the other part too. When you look at the names, on the documents that basically crooked Kate Brown, Oregon Governor Kate Brown. Look at the names in all these documents. It's the same names of people that are attacking President Trump.
Of course,
Comey and Peter Strzok and Loretta Lynch and I mean, it's the same names that were attacking the Hammonds and the Bundys. So those are the points I wanted to make.
No, I appreciate that, and I really do appreciate your call. I like people that are well informed in all this. I try and have Laz on because he covers this really well, and so is SHAWNA. But feel free to call in any time. Thank you for your call.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, man.
All right. I believe we have Chris in Las Vegas who's sitting back, hopefully not driving down the road with his window open. But Chris, are you with us?
Yeah, I am. I turned off the car and parked so I could give you this important information. While you were locked up, there were a number of us, Quintum, Cyrillus, Elias, like you say, Lazaro.
Yes.
We're intrepid investigators. We never quit. We watched those videos over and over of that shooting scenario. And a couple of things here I want to light you up to because this is important. Also, I can't. Sorry about the plane flying over.
No,
I can't stay on too long tonight, but if you want, tomorrow night I'll come back out and I will give you a Las Vegas corruption expose extraordinaire. But that's up to you if you got. I will tell you the whole deal on this situation that I've run across here. Violation of separation of powers doctrine, incestuous relationships inside the county commission, the district attorney's office, and so on and so forth. But important to your scenario, you're talking about the possible planted gun. Absolutely planted gun on Levoy Finicum. Whenever the first guy ran up to Levoy after they shot him, threw his hat off. Later on in that same scenario, after he was dead on the ground, laying in the snow like an animal, murdered by snipers in the trees and others around there. A whole gaggle of those BLM agents, undercover foreign mercenaries, Lon Haruchi, whoever they were, ran up around, and they clustered around him. Well, I used to be an enforcement agent with the control board here, and I know what blockers are when they block a machine so they can open it up, set up the jackpot with a key that they bought from a slot foreman like that. And they planted that pistol on him because he didn't have a pistol. He was shot there in the hip with a rubber bullet from that guy by the pickup truck, and he reached down for that. That's why they claimed he was reaching for a gun, but he didn't have a gun. So they planted a pistol. What they planted was a Ruger P89 DC 9mm automatic pistol.
First handgun I ever owned.
He was a 6-shooter guy with 45 57s. That pistol was planted on him, and it came out of the FBI database that showed up on NCIC as being recovered by the FBI several years prior. So it was a throwdown gun that was planted on Levoy Finicum because he was not armed. He could not have reached for a gun. No possible way, shape, or form.
I believe that is an extremely likely and possibly very plausible situation. Being that we're on the air and I have to worry about certain court cases, I'll say that extremely plausible. But I believe that I'm convinced, and I was there, and I knew Levoy, and I knew how he was talking. I knew the tenor of what was going on. I also knew what his plans were with the sheriff was to give a class and to be very open. Levoy had no problem wearing his pistol on his hip. I find it very unlikely, as SHAWNA did, I find it very unlikely that he would conceal a firearm in a state that allows open carry lawfully to go see a sheriff. I think that is not plausible because he absolutely respected. And here's the thing: it has nothing to do with him, but how Levoy viewed Sheriff Palmer. He respected him, and what these people can't understand when they craft their narrative and they concoct these situations is they cannot comprehend the concept of an honorable man who has respect for another man and how he would treat him. I don't believe Levoy would have approached Sheriff Palmer in that condition, in that state. I don't believe it because I knew Levoy and I knew how he spoke about Sheriff Palmer. I just don't believe that's a reasonable explanation as to what happened. And what you're saying is about how they surrounded him. First of all, like I said, being the son of a judge, I've been around cops. My stepfather was a criminal investigator for the prosecutor's office, mobile crime lab, homicide investigation. I grew up with it from the time I was a young teenager and absorbed this thing. And the one thing that you do not do, whether it's an officer-related shooting or not, is you don't corrupt the crime scene. You don't corrupt the scene that needs to be investigated. So you have all of these officers. He's obviously laying absolutely lifeless. There's no question about that. And then you have all of these officers who come running up on the scene, destroying the crime scene. None of that seems reasonable to me.
Last thing before I go, I've been expanding on Brady's call from, I guess it's from Oregon. He is very intelligent. He talks about Reed Family. It's the Reed Family Trust, LLC, the Cedar Family Trust, LLC. Those are the entities that Harry Reed and his family and his cohorts were using to steal lands from the BLM that belonged to We the People and convert them to his own private felony criminal intents and uses and sell to the Chinese for his so-called solar farm and for other operations, not to mention all the metals and the elements and rare earths and stuff that were on the both the Bundy property and up on the property for the Hammonds up in the northern part. It was just a huge sellout of America by the Harry Reid, the Red Cabal. He's really a dual agent working for Israel and for China and with Hillary Clinton and the associates. And this is a big, big problem with this government. They've all sold out to foreign entities, and they're not serving the American people. They're representing their own self-interest, and they can throw us all to the wolves and to their foreign buddies that want to come over here and take this country over. But I've got more for you tomorrow night. God bless America. Thank you for doing what you're doing. God bless you. That's a great work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And it's always good to have you, Chris. Chris in Las Vegas, a contributor, regular contributor to RTR Truth Media, and somebody who was there for me when I was in my darkest hour. God bless Chris and everything he does. And, you know, these are some really important things we're talking about tonight. Also important is defeating the narrative, and we're going to try and get to that in a breakdown. You guys have to be a little patient with me. I was gone for a year, so I'm trying to play catch-up on a lot of content and material that kind of slipped past me, that creates a narrative that goes out in front of these trials. One of these things is going to be an SPLC hit piece on conservatism, on constitutional loving people all over. And it just really what an absolute smear that is. Also, if we don't get to it tonight, we may. I hope that we do. Is Gary Geleno, who's Grindall61 on YouTube. He went to a town meeting in his local there, close to him. Do you believe that there's, and this has been going on for a couple of years now, an illegal alien is sitting on a government board, gets a police escort to his car when people show up and demand that the local government stops thumbing their nose at immigration laws that are a national security issue. This man is sitting with an illegal alien sitting on a government board getting a government paycheck. I mean, in California, only in California, I hope right now, because anyway, so what I'm doing tomorrow, I'm just letting you guys know, I'm calling ICE. And I'm reporting this. I don't know if anybody else has thought to. I'm sure Gary probably has, but we're going to call it, we're going to record it, and we're going to play it back for you. And I'm going to inform ICE that they have an illegal alien sitting upon a government board, and I'll let them know that their meeting schedule and ask them to do something about it. Now, if these federal agencies are supposed to be working so hard for us, like we're told, then the law should be respected, because after all, how are they going to hold any of us to account when we have absolutely no victim, but there's so-called federal crime, and they can selectively enforce the law against me, but not an illegal alien sitting on a city council in California? That, to me, is selective enforcement of the law, or it is granting someone some sort of noble title to give them a pass, maybe a title of nobility. Anyway, so we're going to be getting into that a little bit as well. You can call in 1-800-313-9443, Resurrect Republic Truth Radio broadcast. We will take your calls. Anyway, until then, we do have a report from Kelly Stewart, who was there also. And I want this perspective. I want you to hear her perspective a little bit. I'm not going to run the whole thing, but I'm going to run a portion of it. Mike, if you can get the Kelly Stewart's report up and ready, let me know when it's ready. She was there, and she saw a lot, and her perspective on this was, as we were reviewing it before airtime, I think was very credible, extremely credible. So, Mike, are you with me? Oh, who's on the line? Beverly in Oregon. Okay, we'll hold off on Kelly Stewart's report. Beverly in Oregon, you're on the line.
Hello.
Hello.
I was calling in. I got a message from Lazario, and he said, here's the number. So I'm calling in.
Lazaro.
Oh, I love Laz.
Oh, Laz is the best, isn't he?
He's amazing.
He's my brother.
He's my stone through all of this. He's helped me out a lot.
Yeah,
anyway,
tenacious Laz.
Yeah. I sent him a link because I had just got done listening to Jeanette Finicum, and I was a little bit concerned because I heard her mention one of the agents that was testifying made a comment about Lavoie gunning it, and I'm just like sitting here going, pulling my hair out. I'm a native Oregonian, and this just disgusts me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I posted a video on your page, and it's a video I found about a year ago, and a gentleman kind of went through a whole lot of details, and it breaks down the whole drive through all this event, and it shows brake lights, timing, and it puts it in with the voice scenario that they have there as well.
And you mean the video that the forensic investigator did anonymously, I believe.
That might have been who it was. I really don't know the party.
Yes, he is actually a forensic investigator who did not want to use his name. He just wanted to put it out, and it was a very good piece. The only part that I don't necessarily agree with was Ryan Payne potentially being involved in any way. I know Ryan Payne, and I believe Ryan Payne to be of a good, sound, moral character and believing in what he was doing. I don't believe in it anyway.
I have to agree with what I felt, but you know him better than me, so I'm glad to hear that. But I really did feel
that was the only part that kind of didn't feel right with me. Is one of the reasons I did publish it on our blog.
Good.
And I should probably go back and put a disclaimer in there because I went through Pahrump with the Bundys and all of that. We've talked at length about beliefs in who and what problems were, and those problems are airing themselves out in the laundry as we speak, all over social media. We know that there's a group, and I'm not even going to give them the press of saying their names because any advertisement to these people is good advertisement, whether it's negative or not. But there was a contingency, and because of that, there's always a doubt. Can you trust this person? Well, when we all show up in the same place, and the way the federal prison system works is if you're going to give information, or if you have given information on another individual, they cannot put you in the same unit with them. They just can't do that. So, and they can't let you go to the same law library. So just to give you an idea, Ammon Bundy, Ryan Bundy, Cliven Bundy, myself, I believe it might have been Mel Bundy, and Pete Santilli all went to the law library all in the same day. So yeah, what that tells me is and they have these because they're responsible to a point, and if one of us turns around and we do something to the other one, then they have a case against them. So they keep to these policies pretty strictly. So when it comes to Ryan Payne, I had discussions with Ammon about Ryan, and although many of us couldn't see some of the people who were going to turn on us, like those who were there for the Bundy Ranch and for Oregon Standoff, and who professed to be complete supporters and then completely turned. And anybody listening to this who knows who I'm talking about, they'll know the individual I'm talking about and her little group. These people were deliberate, and they still try and destroy. And one of the biggest messages that I was trying to get out, and I think Lavoie, I spoke to Lavoie, Lavoie felt very passionate about too, was the cause of the Native Americans and the concern over the narrative that was going out over through the BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and from the BLM, all that. Anyway, so Lavoie put me in a building to do media with David Fry and SHAWNA COX. Okay, and in that building there was a basement. So I walked down the basement, just being the curious investigator that I was raised to be, and I find all these artifacts that are down there that have been down there for decades that are, some of them are sitting next to a hot water heater. It's ready to explode. There's rat feces and urine destroying the outer packaging. The boxes are falling apart. They're not being treated with any kind of dignity and respect. So the narrative that the government comes out like, oh, they're desecrating the artifacts and we're going to charge them with desecration and digging this hole, you absolute hypocrites. And when I brought this to Lavoie's attention, Lavoie sent for Blaine. Blaine Cooper came down, and you'll see a video that's Native American artifacts desecrated. I think it's still up on Cooper's channel.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I did see that, and I watched this while it was live and progressing, yes.
Mm-hmm. And I was standing behind Lavoie, and David Fry was standing behind me, and we were just looking very carefully at what the labels read so that we could read a couple labels off for evidence. We're just gathering information. And from the moment that happened, we came under direct and deliberate troll assault. Oh, it was crazy. Exactly. Stay on the line. We'll be right back after a few words from our sponsors. Resurrect the Republic Truth Radio broadcast on RBN.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Welcome back. Resurrect the Republic Truth Radio broadcast. I'm your host, Tom Lackabara Stewart. We have a native Oregonian on the line. Are you still with me, dear?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. Now, I love having native Oregonians call into the show, especially because one of the narratives we were just talking about was the Native American artifacts. And Lavoie did several videos. We did this video, and then he did another video following it up, where he pleaded with the Paiute people to send representatives so that they could respectfully turn the possession of their cultural artifacts over to them for their own control. Now, this is of course, again, bypassing federal government control or Bureau of Indian Affairs control, directly speaking to the voice of the people. Because ultimately what really concerned Lavoie was all of this bureaucracy that's been built up over the past 150 years, that is much of which is unconstitutional and serves private interests and special agendas and all of the stuff that we know. One of the most important messages that we tried getting out there was that we stood not just for the ranchers, but for the Native Americans and for everyone involved as individuals and not as a collective or collectivist group. Of course, we've seen a lot of the Native Americans that I've seen in your state, and I know a few personally who are directly opposed to Marxism, but we see a lot of the movement of the Native American movement that is saturated in neo-Marxism and this marginalized people rhetoric. Instead of looking at ourselves as individuals, they start forming collectivized, incentivized groups. So we were trying
to agree with you there.
Right, we're trying to break through that narrative, and it was not but a couple days after that presentation was the ambush. And I believe that this played an important part, because for the most part the government was told to kind of step back until it petered out, blah, blah, blah. That's what we hear. But obviously there was a very quick escalation. Another video that Roy did said that he saw a complete change in the tenor almost overnight of how they were posturing themselves following this incident. I don't believe in coincidences, and I'm not saying that my discovery led to all this. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a big part of the narrative that the mainstream media and the liberal media was trying to push, that they were desecrators of Native American artifacts. And all of this nonsense that's just absolutely so untrue. We had Native Americans there. We had David Fry, who's part Japanese, and I think he's also related to George Washington, for Pete's sake. We had African Americans. We had people from different faiths. Everybody called this a Mormon thing. Well, the Bundys may be LDS, but there were Christians and agnostics, and there are people from all walks of life, Protestant, Baptist. There are all kinds of people that came out that probably have disagreements in their doctrines, but they had one focus on really what was most important was morality. And
yeah, so true.
When law contradicts your moral compass, I believe that the First Amendment says it best. We have a right to freedom of religion. Freedom of conscience is important as part of that. So when the government is doing things that completely violate our moral compass, we have a duty and an obligation to stand up in opposition. Don't you agree?
Oh, 100%. That's why my computer gets worked overtime.
Well, I kind of social media bashed a little while ago, and Shawna put me in my place. She is absolutely right that a lot of the people out there that, oh God, yeah, I love it and I am, even though social media is social engineering, they are censoring people. My YouTube channel was terminated with tens of thousands of subscribers and millions of views. So yes, I was right about that aspect, but Shawna did make a good point. And when you hit social media in a large group, no matter how hard they try, they really can't totally shut you up. And that information was so important that spread across the internet that brought support. I'll tell
you what I learned. I've got about 5,000 Facebook fans off and on, and I started through a whole other journey. But when the thing came up with Bundy,
I can relate.
I kind of started watching that off and on, and then the Harney County incident, and I'd seen a few of Lavoie's videos, and it hit home hard because he was much like my father and his father, and the scripture and the belief, and Grandpa was mining, logging. He had some lands down on the Sixes River that the state took from him. They burned out some of the miners. That's what I grew up with as a very young child. So this really started hitting home. Where you respect the flag, you help your neighbor, it all hit home hard. And my mom was staying here, and my father's passed since. And this house became a sentinel for watching these events, and I started sharing on Facebook. And although I got a lot of people making snide comments, I had a lot of personal messages where people started coming and asking questions.
Yeah, well, let's get to the other end of that. We have, yes. We have to take a real quick break. You can hang on with us if you'd like. Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast, 1-800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
Do you or someone you know suffer from chest pain, blood pressure, cholesterol, or irregular heartbeat? Are you looking for a more natural solution to overcome these health challenges? You hear the ads all the time. If this stuff's so good, why doesn't my doctor prescribe it? That's easy. Doctors are not trained in natural medicine. Extendivite Heart Tonic does want you to be as healthy as you can be, and it really works. Take Extendivite for 6 months and your doctor will say, I don't know what you're doing, but don't stop. It's working for you. Get the dependability of Extendivite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Welcome back. Welcome back, folks. Tom Lackabara Stewart, Resurrect the Republic, RTR Truth Media Reloaded on RBN. I thank you guys for tuning in. If you could, if you support this broadcast and what we do, please go to rtrtruthmedia.blogspot.com and click on the PayPal button and send us some love. We appreciate it, and we could use your support. We're back now at nights, 7 o'clock Pacific time every night, which works out so so much better for me. I'm a night owl. Anyway, we have a local from Oregon that's still, I believe, still on the line. God bless her.
Yeah.
You still with me? All right.
Hey, I'm a diehard.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to get to comment on before we moved on to a tribute that I did for Lavoie is, they were saying that the locals, one of the reports that I went through, I think this one was released by the Southern Poverty Liars Center, said how the Oregonians, the local Oregonians, wanted the Bundys to leave. Well, and they leave out the fact that they had a committee of safety meeting. It was a split decision, and in that local town of Burns, which was 50 miles away from the refuge, were a lot of federal government employees. So if you take the statistics involved with those who were either family of or working for the federal government that live in Burns, Oregon, and you remove them from the equation, you certainly had more people that supported the Bundys there legitimately that were not biased than you did opposing. So they don't cover these facts. Did you notice some of these things from Oregon yourself?
Oh, hey, the majority of the people that I know of that were against it were either transplant non-Native Oregonians from the
you mean
South
for the
California?
The Callies?
The ones that live in Salem, Portland, the true Native Oregonians, those who understand what's going on and have been trying to battle this all this time, no, they were definitely not against it in my experience, in my circles. Mm-hmm. And they're all sitting here, this isn't murder, this is assassination, this was a setup, we know what's going on, this is corruption. They know the facts. They know
I noticed that too. I spoke at the Central Oregon Patriots group there, and I have to also thank Stephen and Donna Hammond, who were instrumental in supporting me when I came out. I actually stayed with them for quite a while, and I met such wonderful people in Prineville, Oregon. Just really Tyrell Cooper and all these people that I met. And anyway, I also saw Mike Stickler, who's going to be coming on the show soon, by the way. The author of the Clive and Bundy book. He's going to be coming on soon. I got to see him in Oregon as he was passing through and have lunch with him, or whether it was early lunch, brunch, whatever. We had lunch, and what an amazing story he told of spending time with Clive and getting a first-hand account of what was going on. And he even said, it didn't sound believable until he got out and he started researching it and finding out that all the things that Clive was saying were dead on. So anyway, what I'd like to share with the audience tonight, and Mike, if you would, halt commercials for this, to the circumstances of the subject matter that we're covering. When I was in Prineville, Oregon, I performed a tribute to Lavoie live while I was spending time with the Hammonds. And again, a thank you and shout out to the Hammonds, both related and unrelated to the ranchers out there, all of the folks out in Central Oregon, a deep thanks to. So what I want to share with you, in memory of Lavoie, in remembrance of everything that we're doing, we're trying to do, lighten it up a little bit and give you a presentation that I did in Oregon. So if you can, Mike, go ahead and roll this.
This is for a good friend of mine, Jeanette Finicum, rest in peace.
I've got to see. If I stay here with you, girl, things just couldn't be the same. Now as free as bird down, if this bird you cannot save, no, and this bird you cannot save, if this bird you cannot save, Lord, no, I can't save. Rest in peace, the boy Finicum.
Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth. Yeah, folks, there was a...
We will not stop, we will not back down,
the boy Finicum.
we will not be deterred. Make it known clearly. So this is not about cows. This is not about grass. This is about your freedom to move about this country, unsurveilled, unmolested. Your right to be a free people, to speak your mind, to peacefully assemble, which we are peacefully assembling, harming nobody, threatening nobody.
Do you want a constitutional republic? Yes. There is no place. I defy you to show me where in the Constitution the federal government is granted any power over any land within the continental United States.
This is spreading. You are on the precipice of one, losing our freedom forever, or restoring the Constitution in its pure intent, which vouchsafes the freedom of the individual. And this is for all Americans. This is for not about ranching, it's about draft. It's about asking the federal government to return to the confines of the law and to allow the states and the counties to be free, to govern themselves.
Free, independent, and sovereign.
Other counties have reached out to us and other communities have reached out to us and asked us to come to them. And so we are.
Take it back as states. If you want recreational areas and you want control over it, it needs to be done as a state. Or keep the federal government in their limited and defined box. They only have 4 powers, and this is not one of them. They cannot manage land. They don't even do a very good job.
That's gotta happen.
Instead of talking semantics, why don't we start at first base? Do they have any authority? No. So why are we talking about it? It should be scrapped, never to come up again. End of story. Do not bring it back in our faces and make us come to 6 and 7 and 8, 9, 10 meetings. We don't want it. Enough is enough.
We're going to have a little meeting at Crane tonight, and then we've got grants, and we've got other communities already lined out that have asked us to come. And this is spreading. You're on the precipice of 1, losing our freedoms forever, or restoring the Constitution in its pure intent, which vouchsafes the freedom of the individual. This contest is just beginning. This contest is just beginning, but we will not stop, we will not back down, we will not be deterred. Make it known clearly. You will never break me down.
The tribute that I did for Jeanette and Lavoie in live in Oregon. We still have a caller with us or no?
Yeah.
Oh, good. You're still with us from Oregon, and
I'm not going to hog it if somebody else needs to come on, but I'm still here.
It's okay. It's good to have you, and to have people that are from Oregon after we heard so much of the narrative of how people were so opposed to it by the liberal media. It was really kind of funny.
We had the liberal media.
Well, and one of the things another thing they didn't take into account, out of the hundreds of people that came to the Refuge, many of them were locals from the local community who supported us. So I guess their voice didn't matter either to these publications.
No, it doesn't.
No,
they don't want to be proven wrong.
They became unindicted co-conspirators.
That's exactly it. As a matter of fact, my mom heard that on one of the videos I was playing when all this was going on, and she goes, "Oh boy, do I get a number?" I'm like, "No, Mom, you don't want a number."
We'll give her a badge
like fight the character.
We'll give her a badge like we did at the Bundy Ranch. We were walking around with these name tags that said "domestic terrorist," and there were little 2-year-olds and grandmothers, and Dinesh D'Souza was there, and there was sheriff. One of my friends who's a sheriff in Indiana was there. Elias Elias was there. I mean, all these people were there. Stuart Rhodes, all of these different sheriff Mac. All these people were there from law enforcement, from prior service military. When you have that many people within a law enforcement and military community standing up and saying, "Y'all got problems. This isn't what we signed on for all those years ago," you might want to just realize, America, that you have a problem.
Yep, I think they're starting to realize it now.
No, I pray that they are. I was going to get into a point-by-point on a Southern Poverty Law Center piece. I don't think that we're going to have really have time for it, but it was the plan. We'll probably move it off to tomorrow. But the narrative that I've seen from, especially, not just from the Southern Poverty Law Center, but from organizations that use their information as if it were credible fact. And, you know, it's a real problem. I mean, the FBI finally stopped using their information for obvious reasons, because they were so far left that they ignore, of course, all of the Antifa, but then they want to paint people who stand up for the Constitution as some sort of domestic terrorists. You know, I'd like to urge them to really start reading the Federalist Papers. You want to talk about their definition of domestic terrorist are our founding fathers.
There you go. Yep, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you argue with that? It's like, to me, sometimes I face the day and I say, you know, how do I convince somebody, because I don't want to just be stuck in my own echo chamber. How do I convince somebody who has their head so far up their own hindquarters that they can't see daylight, that individual liberty is what's best? I mean, it's not even what's best for them. It's what's moral. It really doesn't even have to do with what's best for me. It's moral. And to take something from someone else without their consent is theft. Theft is immoral. It's really, I mean, to me, it's that simple, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is, but we're logical thinking people, and we have hearts and souls. Where between the schools and lack of, you know, for whatever reason, broken families, you know, multiple jobs, you know, hardships within the structure, we've grown generations of people who are multiplying to be soulless, sadly to say. They are lacking in morals. They're lacking all the things that, well, they're lacking in God. You know, they haven't had the proper education. Part of it thanks to family, part of it thanks to the educational system, and it's been designed that way. The educational part of it. Unfortunately, we have to find a way to change it.
It's a very deliberate dumbing down of the American population. And I don't even call them public schools anymore. I think that's a misnomer. I call them government schools. And there were certain, I mean, Larry Grewal, who was undercover for the FBI, exposed the Weather Underground, the Students for a Democratic Society, and all of the intellectuals. And I'm talking lawyers, doctors, college professors, people from academia, who were all sitting around plotting essentially the genocide of anyone who didn't think like them. And they were dead serious, he said. We've run this, I don't know how many times on our show. I don't know whether I should keep running it just to keep reminding people, but this is, you know, these people they meant business then. They continued to mean business. They mean business now, and they're so disingenuous in their virtue signaling for this so-called social justice and this Marxism that we see all over campuses across America, where you have conservative people that come to speak and they get shut down with violent protest. I mean, I'm sure just from being in Oregon, you've heard of what's going on in Portland. Portland, my God, you know, one of the things that my wife begged was, please, when you get out of Sheridan, please don't go to Portland. Please don't go to... You will not last in Portland, she told me. You will not be able to walk the street because you won't be able to keep your mouth shut.
Well, that's how we are, isn't it? Yeah,
I hate to say it's true.
Bad.
It's true. It is bad.
It's bad.
It is.
I remember when I was younger, we liked to drive up to Eugene and play around there because it was close to. We lived in Coos Bay, North Bend. Well, we lived in the rural communities there, and it was a nice little town. Nah, not anymore. Sanctuary City, amen, and all the the people who they're a miniature Portland, and you know, the bigger cities that support, like Harney County. You know, like you said, when they were saying, well, they took a vote and the majority wanted these guys gone. Well, Yeah, the majority of them work for the colleges. The
they said the majority. They said a majority, but their committee of safety, which were pretty much leaders from the community, including Crespios and all that, it was split right down the middle with stay or go. It was split right down the middle. Yeah. So if you understand the dynamics there of that being split down the middle, and you take into account all the federal employees and the families and extended families that live in Burns, Oregon, because let's face it, the timber industry is, I'm going to even get into it. Grant County, what was it? Grant County was one of the most prosperous counties, and I think the most prosperous county in all of Oregon, until all of these environmental laws came in and basically turned everyone into paupers. It's the poorest now.
Those are the industries I grew up in. And I know you're right, 100%.
Yeah, and this is what we're trying to fight against. Look, to a point, you can call me an actual environmentalist, okay? And what I mean by actual means I believe that everybody's individual right to own their own property ceases when they do something that poisons their neighbor's property. So if you understand the concept of private property, and you apply that common sense to environmentalism, is if you're not harming someone, and like they made this desert tortoise a scapegoat. There's a species of tortoise that may not end up in our pot someday. First of all, they couldn't show an overwhelming need that this species didn't go extinct. We've had the dinosaurs went extinct. According to environmentalists, we would have had to, or humans would have had to at the time, or should have, done everything that they could so that T-Rex was still roaming the planet. I mean, this concept, some species die out.
It makes no sense, though, because what science is saying now is if they were alive now, they could not live in our environment. It was a whole different climate and environment for them.
Well, of course. So when it comes to the desert tortoise and things like this, what we found in actuality, in reality, was that the ranches that were there were what was sustaining their population. As soon as they had like 50 ranchers in Nevada, and in Clark County, Nevada, and Clive and Bundy was the last one. And what they found was as they chased these ranchers off their land, the desert tortoise went with them and became so-called more endangered because what they were trying to advocate for was the exact opposite of what they needed. Now, how people, in the mainstream, I was there at the Bundy Ranch, and I saw all of the work that they did with irrigation, and they had this whole section of the side of the river that was lush, and it was green, and it was vibrant. That's what the turtles were attracted to. That's what they did for the cows. So, I mean, it's really, now you hear scientists up in Canada talking about bringing the woolly mammoth back because it'll bring back the ecosystem. Herds of mammoth. But cows hurt everything. I mean, I want to bang my head in the wall. We'll be back. Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast on RBN. We'll be back after a few. Oh, wow, we're out of time. Hey,
we're out of time.
You got to call in more often. Maybe you should do the show with me. Folks, Resurrect the Republic, Truth Radio broadcast. Tom Lackavera Stewart. God bless all of you, and thank you for your call.
Thank you, and God bless.
All right, bye.
Interested in photo ops.